What's up, people? We're back. Episode 17, Mentality Focus. Indeed, we're back about uh last episode we spoke about getting into the ring. We spoke about fighting and that type of stuff. This week, like somehow every week there is at least one instance that I'm thinking like I'm speaking with somebody or I hear something and I'm like, why is it that people make such bad choices in their life? Like why is it that that they're uh they're not thinking ahead when they're doing something, or they decide on a particular on something to do in their lives. And it got me thinking, like when was the moment for me that I started to think ahead in my life? Like, of course, when I was a kid, and when I was a teenager, let's say, I used to get into a lot of trouble and used to do a lot of things that got me in bad situations, that type of stuff. And I think that was the moment that somehow I learned to think ahead and make better choices. Because in that moment, in the moment you fall flat in your face and you're like, wow, like what the fuck, I was not thinking ahead, but now I get into all of this trouble. Like what the fuck am I doing? I was not thinking at all. So that's why today I wanted to open the conversation about learning to make good choices, uh learning to make choices that are based on your on thinking, like, okay, what's going to happen in a year now, 2 years from now, or 6 months, whatever timeline you choose. So I'm very interested today, of course, from Alan's experience, like, because the moment I asked you, like, yeah, uh let's speak about bad choices, and about making better choices. And Alan was like, okay, which bad choices do you mean? Like, which ones do you want to take? So um yeah, I'm just curious, like, what type of bad choices have you seen when you were living in the Mexican hood? Have you made yourself? Like, just tell us, like, just tell us some of your experience with bad choices.
Well, to start, I have to say that to all the people, all the audience, your bad choices they have like several causes, and one of the most important reasons why you're like taking bad choices is because you are being programmed to take like those bad choices all the time. What we see in the media is like consume, 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 and that's the situation. Like you are trained to consume whatever products, content, whatever is profitable for the companies. Uh-huh. And the situation with that is that you are consuming and you are not thinking about like the tomorrow. What they say, like, yeah, like you have to live today. The famous YOLO, like some years ago, that that was a trend. Oh, you remember, like we were in the social media and everybody was like hashtag YOLO, And I would say like that's the first reason why we take like bad choices. Those bad choices that are coming from society. Um, I I started to remember, when I was like way younger, like back to the Stone Age with the dinosaurs, and when I was a kid. I remember my parents like taking bad choices, and then like I was in there, and of course I was suffering the consequences of that. And like when you're a kid, you speak, and it's not like somebody's going to take you like so seriously. So for example, I remember that we were quite broke, but my parents, for whatever reason, they have to throw a party. They were throwing a party, and they threw a party. Next day, like everybody was drunk as fuck. Like there was no more food, there was no more money, and it was a lot of problems. Like at that party, everybody was like having arguments with each other. Like some of them, they used to have like some physical fights. Um, of course, like they burn all the money into that night. Uh-huh. And when you start to analyze this situation, it's like, okay, like if you're broke, like you're going to need like whatever excuse you have, like to escape from reality. So in the case of my parents, like they were throwing like these parties. Then the other one was the social acceptance. It was like, okay, like we throw a party and we invite like this person and this person and this person, and then in that moment they will see that we're like doing okay, and we're going to gain a little bit more of a status among the relatives and the friends and the neighbors community that we have in here. So you start to analyze this, and actually you see, okay, like wait a moment, like why is this happening? Like why are you going like through all these hoops, like to just like people? Like I mean, like this motherfucker neighbor just came, and like this motherfucker all the time is talking shit about us, like with the rest of the neighbors. So I could not grasp it like totally, but that moment. But yeah, that was the situation like with my parents. And when you translate like this situation nowadays with the audience, you will find it that everybody's like doing it something similar. You have people that is all the time like trying to escape, like doing drugs, playing video games, with alcohol, with porn. I mean, that's another way of evading the reality. Like maybe right now the people is not throwing parties as they used to do it. I think not because they do not want, is because the social context is quite different.
Yeah, I like how you mentioned the context, like especially your environment, because a lot of people because they start to engage in particular activities just because the people around them are also doing it. But it's literally with everything. If all of your friends they are in broke and in debt, the moment you're like somebody comes to you and say like, yeah, like just take out this loan, just for something really fucking stupid, for a TV or something that you can miss, and especially if you have like so little income, you're going to think like, wait, like, oh, like I could enjoy it so much, like why not, like YOLO, live today, like I'm going to take out this loan and get myself into financial trouble, because why not, and that's how people they get into debt, and it's the same shit. It's the same shit for example, for student loans, because I I know so many people that got into student that they got into 20, 30K student debt, and it's just because you say, oh well, my friend, he also has student loans, so it's acceptable, and I was a weirdo because I said like, no, it's not okay. It's not okay to get into debt. Absolutely fucking not. And from the beginning, the moment they here in the Netherlands they implemented that system that you had to take out loans. From the beginning, I was like, no, thank you. Like, I'm not going to borrow even a cent from you. I was good, and I was like, I was quite rebellious in that. But hey, for me, it worked out, and for other people, they have debt. They tell themselves that it's socially acceptable, and they stay and they get into they get into financial trouble this way. But that's because their environment also tells them that it's completely fine, which it is. In my opinion, it's absolutely not. Because down the like years down the line, but yeah, again, like nobody's thinking of that. Years down the line, they tell themselves, yeah, oh well, the government will at some point will forgive me this debt, or like something else, like whatever cope they come up with, they take it. And I'm just like, think, think, think ahead. Like right now I'm going to take out this loan, even though I have no job, I have no guarantee that down the line I'm going to make the money to pay it back, but I'm still going to take out the loan. To me, it's just insanity. I always think ahead, think ahead, think ahead. And it's easier said than done. You really have to learn it to say like, okay, right now I'm making this decision, and down the line, this is going to have these and these and these consequences, and but that could have massive, that determines the outcome of your life. I like you and I, we both know people. We know, I think everybody knows at least one person that at some point like had unprotected sex at a young age, and then they got somebody pregnant, and then their whole life, even though they had all of this potential, maybe they were very smart, but
Yeah.
just because of the 20 minutes that they wanted to have unprotected sex, they ended up with a kid, and it's just like a half of their life is just wasted away. Well, good luck. Good luck. I certainly hope that the sex was like that good. But still, if you're making that choice in that moment for only that short amount of time to possibly fuck up your whole future, man, that's again think mind-boggling, mind-boggling to just mind-boggling to me.
Yeah, I think that's something that the people need to realize is that for example, you mentioned like these kind of situations about like, okay, you go with your girlfriend and you have protected sex and you get her like pregnant, and you mentioned like about the decision of the student loan. But what the people needs to understand is that the final decisions are not that easy to grasp, and they are like a little bit more sneaky, because the final decisions they have to do uh, with your habits. What you're doing day after day is what makes your financial future what is going to be. So, for example, every time I'm fighting with my actual girlfriend, because all the time she's like, yeah, well, I'm going to work and then I'm going to Starbucks. Well, in this case, she's a catedrátic in the United States University and she can afford that without any problem. But hey, if you are a student and you are in a loan and you go every day to have a Starbucks, like how much money do you think that you're wasting? And at the end of the year, how much money do you think that is going to be? And at the end of your career, your studies, how much do you think that is going to be? That money that you spend in the Starbucks. And I mean, that's just Starbucks. Okay, we have the example of the coffee. Then the friends, you start to hang around with the people and so on. And one thing that I realized is that all the people who are the losers, and because there are like way too many of them, they all the time they try to play the card of, oh yeah, we're the cool kids. So you go in there and you meet like some people, and you kind of like them and so on. And then suddenly like they start to use like whatever drugs. And also because social acceptance, you want to be in the group with that people, and they start also to use drugs. So like right now, you are wasting your time hanging around with those losers, and you're wasting your money, because to get drugs like it's quite expensive. And especially again, if you are in a student debt, if you are in the university and you do not have a job yet, like how much money do you think that you are going to spend? And it's the same situation. If you are all the time going out to eat, how much money you're going to spend? And you are going all the days like hanging around with these people and drinking and partying, how much money do you think that you're going to spend? So did you put like these small amounts of money like all together, when you realize it is like, oh my gosh, like I'm burning like this amount of money each month. Okay, now is that 1 month, and now what about like the year, and now that multiplied for the time that you're going to be on your student or your studies. This is crazy. But the people do not realize it. They again like it's the YOLO, like yeah, well, like I will go and I will do it, and I will do it as everybody else is doing. And at some point, as you mentioned, like yeah, like maybe the government will forgive me like this debt. Like man, like if you want to be like this communist, like leave your country and just go to China.
Yeah, yeah, indeed. Like, I that's why, but that's why we, for example, we shoot this up this episode today, because what we do is encourage people to make responsible choices and to always be responsible for your choices, you know. And but that starts with thinking ahead, thinking about tomorrow, you know, and not just think like, oh well, YOLO, I'm going to take out loans, take drugs, and drink and party like there is no tomorrow. No, because there is a fucking tomorrow, and there is also there's also a next month, and there is also a next year, and there is also a next decade. You know, you need to think. You need to think about. You need to think about that consciously. Because if you're not going to do it, at some point you're going to end up in you're going to end up in really really screwed up situations. And I hear this type of I hear this these types of situations all the time. You know, and that's why yeah, that's why every time I'm speaking with these people, I'm like, really, really think, please, please, just for, for the sake of God, just please think, you know. And it's the same, for example, with you. You there's countless stories that you told me about the about your story, like from your stories in the hood, and it's just like, oh damn, like these people even thinking? Are these people, they're not thinking about tomorrow, they're not thinking about tomorrow, they're not thinking about next month or next year, you know. Like what types of stories do you personally have about the what what stupid choices have you seen from the most stupid choices from the Mexican hood?
I have to say that I have like good like examples from the two, from the good choices and from the bad choices. Like I'm going to say like one of the most stupid choices that I have seen. This is also like proper man related. Uh, Unfortunately, it happens to one uncle that I really appreciate him. The situation is that he used to have like such a good job. He was in charge of all the candy stores. But this candy store was located here in a neighbor that is called La Merced. That neighbor is famous because like all kind of grocery products, they are being commercialized in there. So he was in charge of the full candy store. The owner of the candy store actually was unaware that like he was doing like some shady business in there. So basically, he was in charge of the whole shit. The situation with him is that his wife was this kind of wife that she was okay, like kind of pretty and stuff, but like not educated, um, not educated in any way, not in a financial way, not in a professional way. Like there was none of education. Um, all the time, she was like forcing him to rent like huge houses, to throw like really fancy parties and stuff. Like I remember, like he was hiring a magician, he was hiring a clown, and he was hiring a group, and he was not buying like the food in the party. He was not buying the food like from the from the taco post in the corner. Like he was hiring the guy from the tacos in the corner to come to his home and like to prepare all the shit in there. So again, when you start to check it, like it's totally stupid. I was uh, I was in those parties and I was just seeing like how everything was was for free, and how everybody was like just taking advantage of that. At the point that of course like we grew up, and at some point like there started to be more alcohol because we grew up and we started to drink. And I remember one situation that one of these guys that was supposedly one of his best friends, um, he went straight to the fridge. He took a couple of alcohol bottles and he hid it for himself. I mean, And this situation, it was all the time as happening like this. Again, the problem was the wife, because she was all the time like pushing him to do this. My cousins, especially the older one, he got really spoiled because of these situations. He never learned to do anything. With the money that my uncle was earning, he managed to put him in some private college, and at some point, like, he put him in a private college for music that is quite expensive here in Mexico. And well, he was studying there, but at some point, like, he just dropped it. He did not even finish. And his wife was continuing all the time, like, pushing it. So sometimes you used to go to to their house, and you see like the massages, like, going in there with the table, and like doing the massage like at home and so on. That is also quite expensive here in Mexico, and in Europe, like, it's way more expensive. But again, like, you see all these kind of situations, and you are just thinking, okay, like, these people, they are not planning for their future, like anything ahead. So what happened is that, because all of this, yeah, all the time, like, they were going outside to it. And what happened is that at some point, the owner of this business, he realized it, like, all the whole situation, what was going on. And of course that he kicked out my uncle from the place. And because he was like well owned into that area with the rest of the candy stores community, well, like, nobody else wanted to employ him in there anymore, so he had to move to another area.
Yeah, I remember what that's when I came to Mexico and that I heard the story. It's actually a really sad story. Because ultimately that didn't just that hurt him financially, but also like the wife left him at some point, right?
Yeah, yeah. The situation is that, because all this was going on by that time, like, right now we have the present. What happened is that they never planned for the future. They did not buy a house or even a flat. They are all the time, like, paying rent. Like, she divorced him. She's like living with my cousins. Look, whoever has like an extra room, or even if not, like, she's going and staying with them, like different seasons. And then my uncle is renting a flat, and even when he's renting a flat, and even when he's divorced, like, he still's giving the money to his ex-wife.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I mean, because these are the exact type of situation that you want to avoid. You know, life is longer than this year or next year or even 5 years. Like 5 years is a short period of time if you're going to live 80. You know, you don't want to in 10 years from now, you don't want to have like you don't want to have a you don't want to get somebody pregnant premature, like out of like by accident while you're building a business or building your career, or even worse
Build
if you're still
yourself.
student. Yeah, well, while you're building yourself, you don't want to you don't want to deal with children that you hadn't planned. You know, you don't want to have these types of toxic relationships with either women or men that push you to do things that are in those types of circles. They might be socially acceptable, but you know, if you think think further than just tomorrow or next month or next week, that you come to the conclusion that these choices, they are just bad, like taking drugs and that type of stuff.
Yeah, the situation again is that you need to start to think in your future and to plan ahead of your future. Start uh, start with the small. Uh-huh. Start with the small. Like, stop going to Starbucks because everybody else is going to Starbucks. Stop stop drinking every weekend just because everybody else is doing it. You need to have a budget for whatever like you are doing. That's the first step. Make all the time when you're like doing something, just operate into a budget. Maybe in the future, when you have like enough money, you can afford to say, okay, like I can go, I have like this budget, but I can afford myself to go a little bit further. But first of all, like operate under a budget. Say, take some money and say, okay, this is the money that I'm going to use for the whole month, and then from there calculate. Check all the time what expenses you can cut. Like if you're paying Netflix, like immediately stop paying Netflix. If you're paying like another subscription to whatever other entertainment site is, I don't know, like Disney, HBO, whatever you're mentioning, like stop it, pay it, stop it. Forget about the Starbucks and forget about like these streaming services. If you smoke, again, like forget about smoking. If you're consuming drugs, it's the same. Forget about consuming drugs. Cut all these expenses. You need to cut them down.
Yeah, especially not only you're going to save a lot of money, you're going to save a lot of money, but you're going to save yourself a lot of time by and you're going to get so much more energy the moment you start. I notice right now because I take right now that I take fighting so much more seriously, and I completely stopped drinking and completely stopped smoking. That that I have so much more energy. I'm so much more powerful, and I'll keep living like this because I actually really like it. I noticed that I have so much more power than I did than I even did a year ago when I was smoking and I was drinking. And I also noticed that like it saves so much money. Especially down the line.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's one.
like those things, they might sound really boring to you, like to the audience, but you know, it's not that not that you have to completely quit smoking or quit drinking, but yeah, it's very important that you think about the future. Like right now, I have set different goals than I did when I was in the university. When I was in the university, I just wanted to socialize and have fun because that by that time that was priority. So because like also especially because by that time I wanted to work on my social skills, but right now it's not a priority. Right now it's absolutely not a priority because I picked up fighting, so yeah, that's why you need to think ahead always, and you you need to learn how to do that. I noticed that for me that started to change the moment I got myself into trouble, when I was like 15, 16. I was really, when I'm thinking back, I was like, I was not even thinking. I made choices. At some point, got suspended from high school. And that I was like, what the fuck? Like, I was not thinking at all, and that was, yeah. I didn't think, okay, what if other people find out, like the kind of like the type of shady shit that I'm doing, like what would happen if what would happen in a year from now, after that after that I uh after that I started to make better choices. I got myself like I fell flat on my face and I was like, okay, like right now I need to think about my actions consciously. I need to think like, okay, like wait, I'm doing this right now. Like if I don't stop, if I'm going to do this, this is going to have this could potentially have like bad repercussions. So yeah, think about that consciously. And I also from your side, like because you told also some stories about the type of mistakes that you have made while you were like when you were like building yourself, like coming out of the hood, at some point when you started to make a little bit more money. Like what type of what are the worst choice, like what are the worst, like the bad choices that you have made yourself when you started to self-develop, let's say.
The worst choices.
Could be with anything.
Yeah,
Could be with money. Could be with women. Could be socially with family, like anything.
yeah. About that, I have to say that what happens to you, it happens to everybody. But the people need to understand something. When everybody is thinking the same shit, it means that nobody's thinking. Uh-huh. We are operating in the same channel that the rest of the people around us. So yeah, I will say that that like maybe the worst choice that I could say that I did, it was the people that I was like hanging around, because like these people, they were all the time like toxic friends and so on, like trying to put me down and all the time. You know, the classic, like, oh yeah, you know, like you're crazy because you are saying this and you're thinking that or doing that. That's the situation. Again, like you do not need like this kind of you do not need like this kind of people around you. What you need to do is also an advice for the people of the audience. What you need to do is that you need to look yourself, and you need to say like, okay, right now I'm in here, and you need to decide where you want to go. You have to you have to start to imagine how you want to see yourself in 5, 10 years, how you want to see like even in your 50s. Uh-huh. Because when you set the goal and you say like I want to go from A to B, like you know what is going to be like all the paths and all the possible deviations that you're going to take that are going to lead you in here. But then in that moment, you can plan like you can start to plan your future ahead. Uh-huh. And the situation with most of the people is that this simple process, they do not go through it. But they're saying it like, yeah, well, you know, I'm living in here, I'm young, I'm YOLO, and I'm going to do like whatever I want. So again, in my case, that was like the worst mistake. Like I was hanging around with these people that they have no idea about like the future, and they were just like messing around, like doing aimlessly shit. And because of that, I waste like so much years of my life of my lifespan. And when I think about it, like I start to really regret it, because I'm saying like, yeah, well, you know, like I should have realized that these motherfuckers, they were a bunch of losers, and they will never make it out of the fucking hood, and they will be continue like as broke as fuck. And if I don't want to be like them, like I need to leave them like right now. But yeah, by that time I have not the knowledge, I have not the courage to just walk away from there. And really, social pressure could be a determinant factor. But again, to the people of the audience, like just forget about it. If you are having like these toxic friends, like walk away from them. What do you want? What do you want for you? Do you want to say that you really want to be egoistic? Well, that's the time to be egoistic. Just if they want to sink, just let them sink. That's it.
Yeah, yeah, indeed. I mean, you know, you cannot, like the people around you, like the moment you start to rise, the moment you start to rise and to self develop, you cannot take everybody. That's just the way it is. Like some people they I don't think it's for everyone. Like some people, they are really comfort in living such a life. You know, they grew up a particular way and just like, oh well, the way it's always been, that's for me, that's the best. You know, but other people, some people they don't want to live like that. They're like, give me something better. You know, and I'm going to fucking work for it, and I'm going to make it happen, and that's it. You know, for me it's mind boggling that sometimes when I uh when I speak with people that I used to know like years ago, it's like these people, they are still hanging around with the same people. You know, imagine imagine for like in your case and in my case, it was like so radically different. You know, like we went to live in a completely different country. You know, in a and basically from one day to the other, you're starting your whole social circle just completely from scratch, you know. And yeah, that sounds like the yeah that sounds that sounds very sounds very easy for some people to do, but you know, if you've never done it, for other people it's like for these people it's really a big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I understand totally, but like it's not going to be a big deal in the moment when you start working in yourself and you start to improve. Then in that moment, like to build a new social circle is going to be like quite easy, because wherever you go, like the people will see that you're working on yourself, that you are having a happy life, that you are living a fulfilling life, out of the bullshit that the media is like selling to everybody. And then in that moment, like you will not go, you will not need to go to the people will start to come at you, because they will say, okay, like this bastard is as happy as fuck, and I want to know like how he's doing it. That's how it happened. That's what I say, like like when you start to work and to heal yourself, then in that moment everybody else around starts to heal also.
Yeah, indeed. And on that note, we all have to wrap up. So because we are almost on time, and you and I, we have to go as well. So
Yes.
yes. So on that note, we're going to wrap up, people, and we're on to the next one, because this topic is actually very interesting, even for another topic. So for something related, of course. So
Yeah, so much
peace out,
material.
people. Yeah, exact. Good material. Peace out, people.
Take care, motherfuckers.